All right, Algebra 1. Hopefully everybody's staying safe out there. Hope everybody was able to get things done yesterday. Anything that you're missing. So today we're getting started with Chapter 8, even though we're about to take our Part 2 of Chapter 7 test soon. This week we're just going to kind of get started with Chapter 8. So that's polynomials. So a polynomial, poly means many. A polynomial is just one or more terms. So a term is something like x or 2x or just 2 or any of those. Okay, one or more terms combined by addition or subtraction. Okay. Sorry, I kind of ran out of room there. Or subtraction. All right. So, for example, some polynomials we might have is like just 1, 2x. Or we could have something like 2x plus 3. That's a polynomial. Or just a number, 3 would be a polynomial. Or something more complicated like 2x squared plus 5x minus 2. Something like that. Okay, those are all polynomials. Standard form means the terms are ordered from greatest to least exponent. Greatest to least exponent. Or what we'll kind of figure out is that's called degree. The exponent is the degree of each term. Okay? So, when we look at these, it says write each polynomial in standard form. Excuse me. So let's put these in order. Okay. So, for instance, let's do the evens here. So number 2, the highest exponent we have is 7k to the third. So I'm going to order that 7k to the third plus k squared is next. Then minus k, and then the very last one's always going to be the one that doesn't have anything. So if you have a constant, that's always last. So, number 4, again, look what's first. Now, when you're doing these, make sure you're paying attention to the sign in front, not behind. So this is a negative n to the third plus n, and then, again, the constant is last. Okay? So, in this last one, I actually have to do a little something first. Okay? Because right here, these are 3 and 3. So, normally it looks like those would go first. But, since this is all one term, that is a total of 4 exponents. So if it's all one term and you have multiple, you got to add them together to figure out what the actual exponent is. Okay? So that actually would be first. C squared, D squared. And then which one of these should go first? Well, alphabetical order says C comes before D. So minus C to the third plus 5D to the third. And then we have plus 13. Okay, so alphabetical too. If you have the same exponent, you either combine them if they're like terms or put them in alphabetical order. Okay, so classifying polynomials by degree and number of terms. We'll talk more about this later, but for now I want to just kind of, we're going to come back to this, but for now I just want to come back to combining like terms, okay? So adding and subtracting, when you're adding and subtracting polynomials, you're basically just combining like terms. But what you have to do is really pay attention to your signs. So if it's adding, there's really nothing else to do except look for like terms. So look for the highest exponent first, x squared. So negative x squared plus 2x squared is 1x squared. Then the next highest x is just x. So 11x minus 5x is 6x. And then finally the constant is going to be 13 minus 23, which is negative 10. And there we go. Okay, so adding should be pretty easy. Subtracting, however, this can be the challenging part. Okay, so if you have a subtraction sign, you have to make sure to change it to plus. And when you change it to plus, you got to change all the signs of your polynomial. Okay, if it's minus something, you got to change the signs of that entire thing. So now, look at your like terms. X squared is the highest. So 4 minus 3 is 1x squared. 5x minus 7x is negative 2x. And then we only have one constant, which is negative 1. And there we go. Okay. So let's go through some examples here, and then that'll be all for today. So find each sum or difference. We're just going to go down the odds. So I've got x plus 4x is 5x. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. And I've got it in standard form because I started with the highest exponent. Okay, so same thing on 15. Look at the highest exponent here. It's 3. W to the third doesn't have any like terms, so that just stays w to the third. And then I'm looking at w squared. So negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1w squared. And then we've got negative 5 plus negative 15, or 11, which is negative 16. And there we go. If you start from the highest to the lowest, you don't really have to put it in standard form because it already will be. Okay? And so finally, number 17, same deal. What's the highest exponent? P squared. Negative p plus p, that cancels out. And then the next highest is p. So 5p minus 4p is 1p. And then I've got 8 minus 15 is negative 7. There we go. Okay, so now we start getting into the subtraction problems. Okay, so in this first one, I'm going to change that to plus and make this negative 3x squared and negative 5x. So starting with x squared, I've got x squared minus 3x squared, which is negative 2x squared. 17x minus 5x is 12x. And I'm done. So same thing here. Change that to a plus, and that's minus 4x minus 11. Okay, so 4c minus 4c cancels, and I've got negative 11 plus negative 11, which is negative 22. So that one we only had one term in our answer, and that's okay. That happens sometimes. Not very often, but sometimes. Okay, so last one here, and then we'll look at one of these kind of weird ones. So 23, change it to a plus, that's minus 15, minus 8b, minus v squared. Okay, so highest exponent first, that's negative v negative v squared. Negative v squared is negative 2v squared. 7v minus 8v is negative 1v. And then 14 minus 15 is negative 1. And there's our answer. Okay. So for these last two, it says find the sum and subtract. So find the sum, that means just add them together. Okay, so that should be pretty easy. Add these two together means 8p squared, negative 2p squared, 6p squared. Negative 2p doesn't have a like term here, so negative 2p. And then finally 15 plus 11 minus 1. So actually on that one, we had 3 like terms. So 15 plus 10 is 25. And there's our answer. Okay, so this one is kind of confusing sometimes. It says subtract this from this. So if it says from another, you need to actually switch these around. So it'd actually be w to the third plus 6w squared minus 2 subtracting 2w squared minus 5w plus 10. Okay, and now I can go ahead and change, okay, this is going to be plus, so minus, change that to a plus, change that to a minus. Now I'm ready to go. Okay, but subtract this from this means switch them around. Okay, so w to the third is our first one. That doesn't have any like terms. 6w squared minus 2w squared is 4w squared, so plus 4w squared. 5w doesn't have any like terms. And then finally, we've got negative 2 minus 10 is negative 12. And there is our final answer. Okay, so combining like terms, they have to match up not only variable but also exponent. Okay, something we've talked about before, but need to make sure we're able to do those. Okay, so what I want you to do for homework is numbers 18, 20, 22, and 24. Just those 4 problems. So you've got 1 addition here, 18, and then 3 subtraction. Okay, so combine like terms only. Make sure you switch the signs if it's subtracting. Okay, so if you have questions, email me. Otherwise, go ahead and get started. Peace.